Scoodly doodly doo, it's time for another Welch review. Scoodly doodly doo doo.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen.
Today we are. Hey, this is the Welch review. Today we're talking about Fear Street 2. I'm your host Sam, and that's Stefan.
Nice to see you guys again.
Also your host.
So, as Sam said, Fear Street 2, and they have dated this sequely by years. So this is Fear Street 1978. Now, This film stars a lot of the same cats, right? So you got Kiana Madeira appearing as Dina again, right? So you know her from Fear Street 1. She's going to be next in Fear Street 3, which takes place in 1666. You have Benjamin Flores Jr., who is again reprising his role as Josh, and he will again be seen in Fear Street 3, 1666. You might also know him from the Netflix film Rim of the World, or from the limited series on Starz or Showtime. Showtime, Your Honor.
Yes.
Julia Rewald, my apologies.
Wait,
Julia.
you see the kid in Your Honor?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
He's the kid whose parents
got killed.
Yeah.
And he's the only one who survives.
Yep. Julia Rewald as Kate again is coming back for Fear Street 2. She'll next be seen in Fear Street 3, 1666. I'm sorry if that sounds repetitious. Fred Hetchinger as Simon is also in this movie. You know him from the Netflix film The Woman in the Window, News of the World in 8th grade. Ashley Zuckerman was returning as Nick Good. He was previously in Fear Street 1 and the HBO show Succession and the indie horror film The Wind. Olivia Scott Welch as well is returning as Samantha, and she will, I believe, be in Fear Street Part 3. It might be weird if she's not, but she was in the film Shithouse and the TV show Modern Family. And then finally you have Elizabeth Scopel, who's returning as the witch herself, Sarah Freer, and you will see her again in, I think, a film that's more geared to her character, Fear Street 3, 1666.
Yeah.
And then, the new cats, we have Jillian Jacobs as Seed Behrman, who is also adult Ziggy. She is from the TV show Community, the Netflix show Love, and the recent horror film that we reviewed, Come Play. She played the mom. You have Sadie Sink as young Ziggy Behrman, so she plays the younger version of Jillian Jacobs' character. And you might know her from Stranger Things Season 2 and 3. She plays Max. She was also in The Glass Castle and the FX show The Americans, about Russian sleeper agents.
Yeah.
Then you have Brandon Spink as young Will Good, and he played young Bruce Wayne in Batman vs. Superman. He was also in the ABC show Once Upon a Time and the film Mother's Day. Then you have Chiara Aurelia as Sheila, and she's in the show Cruel Summer, Tell Me Your Secrets on Amazon, and the Netflix horror film based on Stephen King's novel Gerald's Game. You have Marcelle LeBlanc as Becky, and she played someone called Cute Girl in Stranger Things, right? Just Cute Girl. And she's also in Cobra Kai. She played Stacy. Then you have Eden Campbell as Annie. She was in They Reach, Flash Frame, and the Mortuary Collection, which you can get at Walmart. You have Ted Sutherland as young Nick Good, right? So this is the sheriff's younger self. He was in The Walking Dead World Beyond on AMC, Doom Patrol, and Instinct. Then you have Michael Provost as Kurt, who's from Reality High, Shameless, and Chance, which was with Hugh Laurie. No, not Chance the Rapper.
Dang it.
Hugh Laurie, House. Then you have Drew Shield as Gary, and not Gary. Drew is from the new Halloween film. He played the friend of a dude who was going out with Laurie Strode's granddaughter, and he got murdered by Michael Myers. He also has a brief thing in the HBO show Mayor of Easttown. Then you have Emily Rudd as Cindy Bergman, and she's from the Amazon show The Romanovs, and she was in an episode of Electric Dreams, which is an anthology series based off of the work of Philip K. Dick, who wrote Blade Runner. And
There's
then
more?
Yeah, there's more. McCabe Sly as Tommy. You might know him from Destroyer, The Miseducation of Cameron Post, and he will be in Fear Street 3. Ryan Simpkins as Alice. She was in A Single Man, Revolutionary Road, and Brigsby Bear. And Jordana Spiro as Nurse Mary Lane. She was in The Goods, Live Hard, Sell Hard, the TV show My Boys, and the TV show Blind Spot. The writing crew is the same as Phil Graziade and Lee Janik, right? They're both returning from Fear Street 1. They also wrote Fear Street 3 together, but new to this is Zach Olkowitz, and he wrote the film Lights Out.
Okay, that's a good film.
And again, these are books that are books.
These are stories based off of books written by R.L. Stein.
By R.L. Stein, and it's directed by Lee Janiak once more.
Yeah.
So, my apologies for that long-winded who's who, where's they're from, and who's returning. But that's a rundown of all that good stuff.
All right. Now a brief plot synopsis brought to you by Sam. Sorry. Anyways, so what we have in this film, it starts off with Sam. She's possessed. She's tied up on what's her name? I always forget the main lady.
Dina.
On Dina's floor. And Dina brings her over to the Ziggy lady's house, and she's like, "Hey, you survived the first, well, not the first, but you survived one of these happenings, right? You survived the Nightwing killer, who Nightwing was a camp that she went to as a kid." And she was like, "Yeah, I did. This is my story." So most of this film,
This is my story.
most of this film takes place in the past, in the year 1978, and it follows Ziggy and her older sister, Cindy, as they either A, go to camp, because Ziggy was a camper, and her older sister, Cindy, was a camp counselor, right? So, that whole thing starts off with Ziggy getting bullied and literally burnt.
Yep.
Somebody burns her arm with a lighter by some Sunnyville kids. Of course, Ziggy and her sister are also from Shadyville, because all of our heroes are Shadyville kids, not those pompous jerks from Sunnyside. Anyways, so the camp is Camp Nightwing, and it's established that it serves two towns, right? Shadyville and Shadyside and Sunnyville. So it serves these two communities, and they're just about to get into something called a color war, which sounds horrendously racist. It's not, thankfully, but basically you have one team that's blue and one team that's red. Red team is from Sunnyside, and one team that's from Shadyville. Shadyville's blue, Sunnyside's red. And
Sunnyville.
I know what I said.
Gotcha. Hush, little darling.
So, anyways, basically they're going to be playing a big game of Capture the Flag, and it goes straight through the nighttime, which makes no sense. Another thing that doesn't make sense, Ziggy has no friends, except for one boy counselor, it's his first year camp counseling, so it's presumed that he's only like 16 or something, right? And she's like the oldest a camper can be, so she's probably like 13, but he's like into her. And that, my friends, is Nick Good, the chief of police in Sunnyville in the future. So that's gross. And probably the most upsetting part of the entire film, my brother right now is wearing his old Perry Lane summer camp shirt. Can't be doing that stuff, right? That's some established rules of being a camp counselor.
Big no-no.
They even bring it up in the movie. Somebody's like, she's a camper, right? Like it's established that it's a no-no. So Nick Good, you're a bad person.
Well, I think, again, what's also concerning is, right, he becomes a cop to defend the law, but, like, he witnesses people, like, practically hog-tie this girl in a tree and burn her. And he's like, hey, let's just not say anything about it, and then there'll be no complaints.
We'll get back to that.
Alright.
Alright? So anyways, that out of the way, the disgustingness that is Nick Good.
Disgusting.
So you got Ziggy, who's kind of like a problem child in a lot of ways. She's kind of like on her last strike for getting kicked out of the camp. And then on the other side, you have her sister, who's like Miss Goody Two Shoes, right? She doesn't do anything wrong, and she thinks that by not doing anything wrong, eventually she'll be able to get out of Shadyville. Now, I think their father skipped town.
Yeah.
So they're only being raised by their mother, and they don't have a lot of money. So, being at camp, and Ziggy gets to go for free because her sister's a counselor, is kind of a big deal. So her sister's more upset that Ziggy almost gets kicked out. You know, she's upset at Ziggy instead of the fact that she was just burnt, like, physically. And Ziggy's kind of, like, alone. So her only real friend besides Creeper Counselor number 1, Nick Good, is the nurse.
Oh, Mary Lane.
So she goes to see the nurse. Nurse seems visibly upset. Like visibly unhinged at this point, and that's kind of weird to Ziggy. She's like, "Hey, what's going on, man? Like, chill. You know, what's this whole witch curse thing that she finds in a book on her table?" Yeah, that doesn't go great. Ziggy leaves, and then later on, that same nurse tries to murder her older sister's boyfriend, Tommy. Tommy's like a good dude, like just generally all around good dude. Everybody kind of likes Tommy. Some of them think that he's like a prude. And honestly, those are the two reasons why Ziggy's older sister, whose name I forgot again, Cindy, is going out with him, right? She's like, I need to be with the good people. I'm a good person, so I can get out of here. And this is at the expense of a lot of her old friends who we meet, who are all stoners.
Alice and Kurt.
Alice and Kurt. So, Alice and Kurt are stoners. Cindy's ratted on them before, and they're not on the best of terms, but they become important characters later on. Alright, so that's kind of like a lot of stuff established. We're going to get back to the attempted murder on Cindy's boyfriend. Cindy's boyfriend and her are cleaning the mess hall, right? Because it's going to be the color war. That's a big deal. So they're cleaning, and then the nurse comes out of nowhere and is like, "Hey, you're going to die tonight, and you're probably going to become a killer." And he's like, "What the hell does that mean?" She's like, "I'm going to stab you now to make sure that doesn't happen." So she goes to stab him, doesn't pan out. She gets knocked the hell out and taken away in an ambulance. This creates like a cascading set of events where Cindy and her boyfriend and the stoners try to figure out what has got this nurse so unhinged.
All they're missing is like a dog sidekick.
Yes.
You know? Oh, sorry, keep going.
So they're trying to figure out what made this nurse so unhinged, and in doing that, they like steal her journal. The stoners steal some things that they think is drugs, but it's like Tylenol. So they have a placebo effect for a while. But this book, which is important, leads them to the lair of Sarah Fair, which all rhymes.
So it's true.
And if you remember, Sarah Fair is the witch, right? So it leads them to the lair of the witch. Basically they find like this sketchy like ground witch circle thing where they think that she did her rituals. And right around this time, her boyfriend Tommy is acting kind of strange. He's like spacing out, there's a bug flying around him, and then he snaps, right? He gets kind of like possessed by Sarah Fair, and he becomes a murderer. And the first person who he murders is Stoner Boy. So Stoner Boy gets the axe, an actual axe. He gets hit with an axe. He dies.
Face.
The face. He is now dead. And he chases the other two deeper into Sarah Fair's lair.
I like that.
I really like saying it. Which winds up being like an underground cavern that they're trapped in. So because some stones block the entrance. But it also stops them from getting murdered because he can't chase after them anymore. So Murder Man Tommy, he goes back to camp and just starts murdering Shadysiders like it's nobody's business. None of the Sunnyville kids get murdered, which kind of sucks. But anyways, so they're getting murdered. Counselors eventually figure out, and they're like, "Hey, Tommy's not right in the head, and a bunch of kids are dying. Let's get everybody to the mess hall." So everybody goes to the mess hall except for Nick Good and Ziggy, who had just and Sheila, who is the bully. But Sheila doesn't get to go because Ziggy and Nick Good played a trick on her, where they locked her inside of a bathroom and dumped spiders and like different bugs on her head. And then Ziggy and Nick Good have like an oddly romantic moment where it's like, "You're a camp counselor, bro."
Let me ask you some questions and see if you 100 proof.
Yeah, yeah, that happens, but it's also like, "You're a camp counselor, stop it." And you know, then the murderer shows up, so that fixes that. I don't want to get too much more into it, right? They get to the mess hall. Eventually, they wind up killing the murderer. But you know, if you remember what happened in the first one, these murderers don't really seem to stay dead. So as the last two shady siders in the area, actually three. The last three shady siders in the area, we got Mrs. Stoner, we got Ziggy, and we got Sydney. And
Cindy.
you know,
Cindy.
Cindy?
Cindy.
Not Sydney?
No, Cindy.
Been
Like
saying it
Cindy
wrong.
Lou Who.
Cindy Lou Who. Sydney Lou Who. So the three of them, you know, have to try to take down Sarah Fair with this hand of Sarah Fair that they found. I forgot to mention that. So, not the best plot synopsis I've ever done, but were there any characters that you thought like, hey,
I feel like this movie was so much better than the first one. Like the first one was strong, but I think like this movie itself could stand like on its own without even being connected to it. Like
I think that's true.
I love this one more, and maybe it's just because of the aesthetic of like, oh, summertime, like the 70s close to practically the 80s.
I think
it's slashers.
The fact that we were camp counselors for like 8 and 9 years respectively. Well,
yeah.
8 and 10 years?
It would have been 10. But COVID happened.
Respectively is like, maybe, no, because I was a camp counselor for 8 years. So it must have been 10.
It would have been with COVID, so I don't really care.
Okay, whatever. Anyways, kind of plays into that.
No, for sure, but like also like you can see where like, even I mean in the first one, but like where they're taking like inspiration from, like Friday the 13th, right? The Burning, Michael Myers, you know.
What's
all
that one
kind of
where
stuff.
the murder winds up being like
Oh, Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah,
like Sleepaway Camp.
That
Like
one's rough.
you can see all the inspiration from that, right? So I think just like the director Janik, I keep mispronouncing it.
What? We don't care about your name.
LJ. What the director
LJ.
LJ was trying to do, I think she did a solid job on the first one, and then she was like, I'm upping the ante for the second one, and it paid off.
I don't know if I 100% agree. I thought that this movie was really good, and it did a great job establishing background. It carries, if you remember from our last episode, I was saying how I think that they do a good job showing the economic discrepancies within groups as like a tool to push forward the plot. I think that they still do an okay job in this, not as good as in the last one, but that's also again not as much of the focus. I would have liked a little bit more. Anyways, I was busy being like, hey, Nick,
You're a creep.
you're messing up, bro. Like, knock it off. Like that part really threw me. And while I do agree, I think that a lot of what happens with Ziggy's older sister, Cindy, and how they how they fleshed out the background of the witch, how they fleshed out like the way to actually defeat the witch, which I'm not going to say because you're going to have to watch the movie. I thought that was a really good plot progression tool, right? I think that this film really just like hammered home a lot of the plot, the background, the story. that's going to be played out throughout the next film. So I thought that was awesome. And the acting is great. All of the actors are really good in this.
Sorry, that was your original question. Go ahead, keep going.
Yeah, of course, Ziggy is...
Sadie Sink, man.
Sadie Sink, she's from Stranger Things. She is no stranger to horror at all.
Yes!
Like, that's her MO, right? That's what she got her start doing. So, yeah, Sadie Sink, fantastic actor. Her older sister, Cindy, is very bland for 90% of the film and then starts to become cool at the end. Her stoner friend, the lady stoner, I thought was really good. Especially when stuff started to get kind of hairy and she went into like shutdown mode. She wasn't just like frozen with fear, but like, I don't know, she did a good job being a panicked person, which isn't normally a mode that people live in.
Or that whole scene where like they're having like the amends where they lay out like that scene where she's like, we all have different ways of dealing with.
Yeah.
Like that was, it's like she packs an emotional punch. Like she's someone that definitely should be watched like for future things. But I agree, the acting is superb. Sadie Sink, man. Like I think she's gonna be long. Like Stranger Things is awesome, but like
be a good actor past
it, you know. And she's got a lot of projects, and it seems like she's carefully choosing them. It's not just like, oh, this.
Yeah.
You know, it's like she sifts through them. You know, we don't know what comes on her desk, but like she's picking good things. You know, she's setting herself up well. For the brief time Jillian Jacobs was on film, I thought she did a good job. But again, I think the kids, like how they depicted camp life and like the shenanigans amongst like the kids, I thought that was really cool and really well done. And just the atmosphere, like the music, like Don't Fear the Reaper was on and it was like, yeah, man, like that's what's up.
Yeah, we watched this with our dad, and there was like this tiny thing in the film, right? Like back in the day, polo shirts. Were like like what all of like the rich preppy kids would wear, and they were really expensive. And he in the show, the sister makes this big deal about her polo shirt. Right, whenever it gets stained, she's like, I've been saving up for this polo shirt. Like she makes a really big deal about it, and it's because they come from a poor background. Right, they only have one parent, and they're from a poor town. So she makes a huge deal about this polo shirt because it's expensive. And that is a really subtle touch that, like, unless you're from the 70s, you're probably not going to realize it, right? Or, like, unless you grew up in that time.
Well, yeah, you can go to Walmart and just buy, like, three
polo shirts. Or you go to, like, the Goodwill and you buy, like, 5,000 polo shirts because there's a lot of damn polo shirts there. So yeah, like the attention to detail, I think, is what you're getting at, and it's really, really good.
It is.
From the music to like the values of each person to like I don't know, just everything. It's really good.
And I think like you also mentioned like how like they don't hammer it as much, like the economic disparities between each town.
Yeah.
Like with that, but like I think they definitely amp up like how social positions and like how Sunnyvale, they're typically tools.
Yeah,
you know
and they like think that they're better.
Right, like they just think that they're the best. Everything seems handed to them. Like Nick's maybe 14, and some guy who's a cop is like, yeah, we all know you're gonna be sheriff. It's like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Just because his dad was sheriff makes him automatically be sheriff? Like, you're saying you're going to work for this 15-year-old kid one day. Why?
Yeah, it's like the most towny thing ever.
You know, like...
I mean, the other part of that is like the head counselor.
Oh my god, which is his cousin. This is the future mayor.
Oh, really?
The future mayor of Sunnyvale. This is the younger self. Just an uber tool.
Yeah, he's a giant tool, and even though he's like head counselor, right? He's supposed to be for all of the kids. He very obviously, throughout the entire film, favors the kids from his town and, like, craps on the other ones, right? even in the beginning, right? He's the first person on the scene.
Yeah, going back to the thing with
when Ziggy is getting like literally burned and like held down by like 3 people.
Especially getting like put like on a witch trial.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I mean, they were doing a mock Sarah Fair. So that's all happening, and when he catches them, he's like yelling at Ziggy. The other ones don't even get like any kind of punishment or reprimanding.
Yeah.
So that's just like if I found kids burning other children,
Yeah.
like they would be done with camp forever. You know what I mean? Like you can't. I don't care what they did to you. You tried to light them on fire.
Yeah, that's going to jail type stuff, man.
And they're just like, no, sweep it on their sweep it faster. You know. So yeah, I don't know that whole kind of thing. In fact, a lot of the camp antics. I know that you were saying some of it, like reminded you of when we were camp counselors, and to some extent that's true. But when you get to like that kind of stuff, it's like, like that's insane.
Well, I mean, the other thing you can tell, like, based on it is, like, when they were playing Capture the Flag, right? Based on the people who are running, like, the jails, right? Like, when you were in the Shady Side jail, the dude was like, oh, hey, hey, guys, like,
how you doing?
How you doing? Like, trying to get to know him was like, I know you're in jail, but, like, you want to play a game? Like, we play a game, get to know each other, and, like, the Sunnyvillers had, like, none of it. They were, like, basically, like, F you, fat boy, right?
Yeah.
And, like, he was just a sweet kid. Then if you were in, like, the Sunnyvale jail, the guy was, like, had a pop polo collar and was, like, screaming in your face, telling you can't even, like, talk or breathe. And it's like, oh, all right, Hitler Youth, cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, this movie definitely very good. I would definitely check it out. If you like the first movie, you're going to love this one. It does a fantastic job setting the stage for whatever the third one's going to be. So I'm excited to see that too.
No, absolutely.
That's going to be Fear Street 1666.
Yep, going back even further back in time.
Yep, number 666. Devil numbers. Devil. Anyways, this has been the Welch Review.
And we'll see you next time.